This is a story about quiet endurance, the kind that lasts when no one is watching. It's about staying on one path long enough for life to finally notice. Gary Roberts felt it in his knees before he felt it in his hands. The dull ache arrived each morning as he pushed the mower out of the shed, the metal handle cold, the air already warm even though the sun was barely up. Fresno mornings had a way of promising heat before the day had even begun. He paused longer than usual. Just a breath. Just enough to wonder, not for the first time, how many more mornings like this he had left. 71 wasn't a number he said out loud often. It lived quietly in his bones instead. The mower sputtered, then caught. The familiar sound settled something in him. Gary didn't rush. He never had. He moved the way he always did, steady, deliberate, as if speed might somehow cheapen the work. Across the street, a neighbor drove past without looking. Another man on another schedule, heading somewhere Gary had never needed to go. He lined up the first strip of grass carefully. There was pride in doing it right, even if no one noticed. That had been his way for as long as he could remember. Decades of lawns, yards that changed hands while he stayed the same. Homes that aged, families that grew, children that left, all while Gary kept showing up with the same truck, the same tools, the same quiet nod. People assumed it was temporary, and they stopped asking. At home, Jen was already awake when he left. She always was. Coffee ready. No speeches. No reminders. Just a look that said, "I see you," even when the world didn't. "You don't have to push today," she said gently, the way she always did. "I'm fine," Gary replied, and this time it wasn't a lie. Their son Bill called less often now. Busy life. Good life. Gary never blamed him. He understood moving forward. He had just chosen to move slower. Pickles the cat watched from the window as Gary pulled away, tail flicking once, as if marking another day completed before it even started. The work waited. Gary didn't expect recognition anymore. That season of hope had passed quietly, without bitterness. What remained was habit, dignity, and a belief he had never fully questioned. If you stayed long enough, if you did the work honestly, life would answer in its own time. Still, as he guided the mower forward, a small, fragile thought crossed his mind. What if it never does? The grass fell neatly behind him. The line was straight, and Gary kept going, unaware that the road he had walked for a lifetime was closer to turning than he could possibly imagine. Years passed in a way that didn't feel dramatic while they were happening, only heavy. Gary's mornings never changed much. He woke before the sun, joints already stiff, hands slower than they used to be. The kettle went on. Coffee first, silence second. By the time Fresno began to wake, he was already outside, pushing the mower across yards that were never his. He learned the shape of other people's lives by their lawns. Some wanted perfection. Some didn't care at all. Most never asked his name. There were weeks when the work dried up. Summers when the heat pressed down so hard it felt personal. Winters when his back ached before the day even started. He told himself the same thing every time. Just today. Just do today right. Jen worried, but quietly. She never asked him to stop. She just watched him rub his hands at night, slow circles, like he was trying to apologize to them. Bill grew up watching his father come home tired and empty-handed. No stories, no complaints, just the smell of grass and sweat, and a man who still sat down at the table like he belonged there. Sometimes Gary wondered if that was the mistake, staying when leaving would have been easier. Friends moved on, took jobs inside, retired early, bought newer cars. Gary stayed, not because he believed something great was coming, but because he didn't know how to walk away from work done honestly. Recognition never arrived. No one noticed the years stacking up. No one marked the time. And still, every morning he showed up. Faith doesn't usually break all at once. It thins. It happened to Gary in small moments. A mower that stalled one too many times. A client who forgot to pay and never called back. A morning when his hands shook just enough to scare him. He didn't tell anyone that part. There were afternoons when he sat in the truck longer than necessary, forehead resting against the steering wheel, listening to the engine tick as it cooled. He would stare at his palms, the lines deeper now, darker with years of dirt that never fully washed out. How long can I keep doing this? The question came more often. The answer never did. At home, the world moved forward without him noticing. Bill talked about opportunities Gary didn't understand. Technology, faster ways, easier money. Gary nodded, smiled, asked the wrong questions. At night, when Jen was asleep, he lay awake thinking about all the exits he never took, about whether staying loyal to one path was courage or stubbornness dressed up as virtue. But every morning, he still got up, not because he felt strong, because stopping felt worse. Somewhere beneath the doubt, something was forming. Not hope exactly, but a refusal to quit. Quiet, unimpressive, almost invisible, the kind of thing no one applauds. The call came on a Tuesday, Gary almost ignored. An unfamiliar number. He let it ring twice, 3 times. Almost sent it to voicemail. Then he answered, more out of habit than interest. The man on the other end spoke carefully. Too carefully. He said he'd been watching Gary work for years. Said neighbors mentioned him by name. Said the city was looking for someone reliable, not fast, not flashy, just dependable. Gary leaned against the truck, the phone warm in his hand, heart beating harder than it should have. He didn't say much. He never did. He listened. The job wasn't glamorous. A long-term maintenance contract, public spaces, steady hours, fair pay, benefits he hadn't had in decades. When he hung up, he stayed there for a while, staring at the grass he'd just finished cutting. It looked the same as it always had, but something underneath him shifted. That night, he told Jen quietly, like he was afraid to break it. She didn't celebrate. She just smiled and reached for his hand, squeezing it once like she always had. Gary understood then. The years hadn't been wasted. They had been noticed. Not loudly, not early, but honestly. And for the first time in a long while, he slept without his thoughts running ahead of him. The first morning Gary showed up in a clean city shirt. He felt older than he ever had. Not weaker, just aware. The sun was low over Fresno, washing the sidewalks in pale gold. He moved slower now, not because he had to, but because he could. No rushing, no proving. The work was the same kind he'd always done. Careful, complete, quiet. Weeks passed, then months. People learned his name, not because he asked, because they needed it. Gary handles that. Wait for Gary. He didn't hear it often, but when he did, it settled somewhere deep and steady. At home, nothing changed much. That was the best part. Jen still left her mug by the sink. Bill still called on Sundays. Pickles still chose Gary's lap every evening like it was an appointment. Some nights, Gary sat on the porch longer than necessary, watching the street lights come on one by one. He thought about all the years he'd worked without anyone watching. He realized now they had been watching. Just quietly. Gary never called it success. He wouldn't have known how. But on one warm evening, as Jen rested her head on his shoulder and the cat purred between them, he felt something better than pride. He felt finished.